Hello, friends. Right now in July 2026, Congress is actively considering three pieces of legislation that could fundamentally change Social Security: what you receive, when you receive it, and how much of it the government takes back in taxes. One of them was introduced just 2 weeks ago. Another was updated by AARP just 3 days ago with a statement that is making headlines. And all three are directly relevant to every single person who receives Social Security or who is counting on it. Today I am going through all three, what they actually say, what they would mean for your check, and why they matter right now. Before we get into it, subscribe to this channel right now and turn on the bell. Social Security legislation moves quickly, and most people do not find out about these developments until it is too late to understand what happened. Subscribe now and let's get into it. Let me start with the number that is driving every single one of these legislative conversations, because without understanding this number, the rest of the discussion does not make sense. The Social Security Board of Trustees released its annual report in June 2026. The report found that the OASI Trust Fund, the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Fund that pays retirement and survivor benefits, is projected to be depleted in the fourth quarter of 2032. That is 6 years from now. And here is what happens at that moment if Congress has done nothing. By law, Social Security would immediately cut benefits to every recipient by approximately 22%. Permanently without a vote, without a phase-in period, without any action from Congress, other than the action of doing nothing. On the current average Social Security retirement benefit of $2.71 per month, a 22% cut means $456 less every single month. For a couple both receiving benefits, that is over $900 per month gone from their household income, starting on a specific date in 2032 if the trust fund runs dry and Congress has not acted. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget put it more starkly: the equivalent of roughly $500 per month disappearing from the average retiree's check overnight with no warning. This is not a rumour. It is not a political talking point from one party. It is the finding of the Social Security Administration's own trustees published in an official government report. The 2032 date has moved up. Last year's report projected 2033. The trajectory is heading in the wrong direction, and Congress, despite years of discussion, has not passed a single piece of legislation to address it. That is the backdrop for everything I am about to tell you. Bill number 1 introduced July 14th, 2026. 2 weeks ago, a bipartisan group of senators introduced legislation called the Promise Act, protecting retirement opportunities and maintaining income security for everyone. The senators behind it are a genuine bipartisan coalition. Republican Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Democrat Dick Durbin of Illinois, Republican Thom Tillis of North Carolina, Democrat Tim Kaine of Virginia, Republican John Cornyn of Texas, and Independent Angus King of Maine, along with several others. Here is what the Promise Act actually does and what it does not do, because this distinction is critical. The bill does not increase Social Security benefits. It does not raise the payroll tax. It does not cut benefits. It does not change the retirement age. What it does is create a mandatory legislative process that would force Congress to actually vote on a Social Security solvency solution before the 2032 deadline hits. Under the bill, the Bipartisan Social Security Advisory Board, an existing independent government body, would be required to develop a proposal that keeps the Social Security Trust Fund solvent for at least 50 years and submit it to Congress. If the Advisory Board cannot agree on a proposal, the Senate and House Majority Leaders can put forward their own legislation. If they decline, any bipartisan pair of lawmakers in either chamber can do so. The proposal then moves through the Senate Finance Committee and House Ways and Means Committee on an accelerated timeline. If either committee fails to act, the legislation advances to the floor automatically. After up to 100 hours of debate, Congress holds a final vote, requiring 60 votes in the Senate and a simple majority in the House. The key word in that process is mandatory. Congress cannot simply delay indefinitely. The bill creates a mechanism that forces a vote, even if that vote produces a result that is politically uncomfortable. Senator Cassidy, who has been working on Social Security reform for years, said directly, "We have an obligation to keep our promise to America's seniors. This legislation puts us on a glide path to make sure Social Security is always there. Senator Durbin added, "Here is our chance to agree on a bipartisan process to rescue Social Security this year." Now, here is the 3 days ago development that adds a significant wrinkle to this bill's path forward. On July 23rd, AARP, the nation's largest senior advocacy organisation, publicly stated that it strongly objects to the fast-track process proposed in the Promise Act. AARP's concern is specific. The bill would create a process that could move Social Security reform through Congress faster than the public can fully engage with and respond to the changes being proposed. AARP argues that any changes to a program as large and important as Social Security should go through the full unhurried legislative process rather than a mechanism specifically designed to limit debate and force a vote. Whether AARP's objection slows the bill's momentum in the Senate is unclear, but AARP's advocacy power with Congress is significant, and this opposition is a real factor in the bill's prospects. The Promise Act has not passed. It is not law, but it is the most significant bipartisan Social Security legislation introduced in years. It was introduced just 2 weeks ago, and the organisations paying the closest attention to it, from CRFB to AARP, are taking it seriously. Bill number 2 takes a fundamentally different approach. It proposes actual changes to benefits and funding, not just a process. The Social Security 2100 Act was reintroduced in 2026 and has accumulated significant co-sponsorships. Its main provisions: a permanent 2% across-the-board increase to all existing benefits on a $2.71 monthly benefit. That is approximately $41 more per month permanently. A minimum benefit floor set at 125% of the federal poverty level, approximately $1,569 per month, protecting workers who spent careers in low-wage jobs. And a switch from the CPI-W inflation formula to the CPIE, which weights healthcare and housing costs more heavily, the categories that consume the largest share of seniors' budgets. Historically, the CPIE produces higher COLA adjustments than the current formula. To fund these improvements, the bill proposes applying the Social Security payroll tax to incomes above $400,000. Currently, the tax applies only up to $176,100. Income between $176,100 and $400,000 would remain exempt under a donut hole structure, but high earners above $400,000 would again pay in the honest assessment. The 2100 Act has been introduced in multiple congressional sessions and has never received a floor vote. Its funding mechanism faces strong Republican opposition. It is a serious proposal, but passage in the current Congress faces significant political headwinds. Bill number 3 directly reduces a bill many seniors are currently paying and would potentially eliminate it entirely. The You Earned It, You Keep It Act proposes to eliminate federal income taxes on Social Security benefits completely. Under current law, depending on your total income, up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can be subject to federal income tax. The taxation thresholds, $25,000 for single filers and $32,000 for married couples, have not been adjusted for inflation since 1984 and 1993. A threshold designed for higher income retirees now catches a large portion of the recipient population simply because incomes have risen over 4 decades. While the number stayed flat, the financial impact is real and direct. A senior currently paying income tax on 85% of a $24,000 annual Social Security benefit at the 12% tax rate pays approximately $2,448 per year in federal tax on those benefits. Eliminating that tax returns $24 per month to their net income without their Social Security check changing by a single dollar. The bill is currently in committee in both chambers. It has not been brought to a floor vote. Its primary obstacle is the funding gap. Eliminating Social Security taxation reduces federal revenue significantly, and the bill does not include a specified replacement mechanism. As of July 2026, no full elimination of Social Security taxation has been enacted into law, so here is the complete picture of where things stand. The 2032 depletion date is real, confirmed by the Social Security trustees themselves, and means an automatic 22% benefit cut, approximately $456 per month on the average benefit if Congress does nothing. The Promise Act, introduced July 14, 2026, creates a mandatory legislative process to force a congressional vote before that deadline. It does not itself change benefits, but it forces Congress to stop avoiding the issue. AARP publicly opposed it on July 23rd, citing concerns about the fast-track process limiting public input. The Social Security 2100 Act proposes a 2% benefit increase, a minimum benefit floor, a switch to the CPI-E inflation formula, and funding through taxes on incomes above $400,000. A comprehensive reform package facing significant political obstacles. The You Earned It, You Keep It Act proposes eliminating federal income taxes on Social Security benefits entirely, currently in committee with no scheduled vote and no specified funding mechanism. None of these bills are law today. All three are active in Congress right now. The next 18 months will be among the most consequential for Social Security's future in decades, and the decisions made or not made in that window will directly determine what you and millions of other seniors receive for the rest of your lives. Subscribe, share this with every person you know who receives Social Security. And I'll see you in the next